Shalom, shalom, shalom. So, Father just inspired me, and I'm going to read it. This is so important. Listen to the words, study for yourself. We'll start in Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 through 3. Then Yesu spoke to the crowds and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees have seated themselves in the chair of Moses. What is the chair of Moses? So they've actually found this in ancient synagogues. This is where the the leader of the people would sit, and they would what? They would read from the scrolls of the Torah every Sabbath. They would read from Moses' seat. This is what he's talking about. This is what was in every synagogue they found. Therefore, all that they tell you to do and keep. So, what are they telling you to do? They would be reading from the scrolls of Torah. It's very much. Let's pop this out. Do do do. Do do do. Boom. All right. So, what was the topic? Do all the keep. Okay. So that's Deuteronomy 30 for those of you who know. So then Yahweh your Elohim will prosper you abundantly in all the work of your hand, in the offspring of your body, in the offspring of your cattle, and in the produce of your ground. For Yahweh will return to rejoice over you for good. Just as he rejoiced over your fathers when you listened to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim to keep his commandments, his statutes, which are written in this book of law, when you return to Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and soul. For this commandment which I am commanding you today is not too difficult for you, nor is it far from you. It is not in heaven that you should say, who will go up to heaven for us to make us hear it, so that we may do it. And this is what he's saying, that you should therefore do all they tell you to do. They're telling you to do Torah. You're not listening to the voice of Yahweh through the voice of the teacher that is sitting in the seat of Moses. But do not do according to their deeds. What are their deeds? That's their action. And this is what I told you. Their action matters more to Father than what you believe. Go back to Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is more deceitful than all else and is desperately sick. Who can know it? What is the source of the heart? That's your spirit, your soul. This is what you believe. But what does he say next? I, Yahweh, search the heart. I test the inmost being, even give to each man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. It's your action that matters more than what you say, what you believe. For they say things and do not do them. The seat of Moses was the head of the synagogue, where the head of the people would read the Torah every week, every Shabbat in the Torah cycle. The Torah equals Moses. The prophets do the same thing, calling it the Torah of Yahweh, the Torah of Moses, or just Moses. Whenever the New Testament writing reference Moses, they are talking about the writings scribed in his name and what he told every follower to do that was listening to him. His disciples would have also taught this. Attend the synagogue on the Sabbath. Listen to the Pharisees read the Torah or Moses. Do all they tell you to do, but not what they do, for they are hypocrites, teaching and not doing. So let's go through a couple of New Testament writings here. Luke 4:16. He came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as was his custom, he entered the synagogue on Shabbat and stood up and read. What did he read? He read from the prophet Isaiah. This was called a Haftorah. This is a tradition that started in the first century because Rome actually outlawed reading the Torah. Acts 17, 1-2. Now when they had traveled through Amphipolis, Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, and there was a synagogue of the Jews. And according to Paul's custom, he went to them and for 3 Sabbaths reasoned with them from the scriptures. Scriptures. This is a great teaching moment too. What does the word scripture mean? Scripture is the Latin word for writing. And why did they do that? Because of Luther's man-made doctrine of sola scriptura. It is not the whole body that is God inspired. When Paul said that, right? All writings are God breathed. The New Testament didn't exist. There was no New Testament. So when he said this in Acts 17, his writings were not yet the same authority as the Torah and the prophets, and that's not what they would have been reading in the synagogue. Acts 18:4, and he was reasoning in the synagogue every Sabbath. What would he be reasoning from? From his letters? No. Trying to persuade both Jews and Greeks. The New Testament does not abolish the Sabbath for the Jew or the Gentile. I have many problems with the New Testament text, but the biggest is how you let your man-made pretexts shade your understanding of them. And this is so crucial to understand. When you read this, are you letting something else shade your understanding of the text? Then the Lord Yahweh said, because the people draw near with their mouth, honor me with their lips, but they remove their hearts far from me, and their fear of me is the command of men learned by rote. This is about the Jews, absolutely. But if you are not studying to know the voice of Yahweh, Yehovah, the Creator, it's also about you. Your fear of Yahweh cannot be by the commandment of men. Did you know that even when there was a temple, the followers went there and made sin offerings? Yeah. Acts 21:26. Then Paul took them in, and the next day, purifying himself along with them, went into the temple, giving notice of the completion of the days of purification until the sacrifice was offered for each one of them. He just went into the temple and made a sacrifice for his sin. This had to have been 20 to 30 years after the crucifixion, yet there it is, staring us in the face, but we can't see it because of our pretext. Paul was making a sin offering to complete his purification. This is from Numbers 6, starting in verse 9. But if a man dies very suddenly beside him, and he defiles the head of hair during his Nazirite vow, then he shall shave his head on the day when he becomes clean. He shall shave it on the 7th day. Then on the 8th day he shall bring 2 turtle doves, 2 young pigeons to the priest, to the doorway of the tent of meeting. The priest shall offer one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, and make atonement for him concerning his sin because of the dead person. So this is what he was doing. He was accused of breaking the Torah. So to prove he hadn't, he shaved his head and went to the temple to make a sin offering. That same day he shall set apart his head as holy. Paul was accused of defiling his vow. And look at Acts 18:13. This man persuades men, and men is Jew or Gentile, to worship God contrary to the law. And he had been accused of teaching men to worship contrary to Torah. And this is a very serious accusation. And today, Christians just take it lightly and say, I'm not under the law. You realize this is cursing yourself? Look at Deuteronomy 29, verse 19. And it will happen when he hears the words of this curse, he will bless himself in his heart. And this is exactly what you're doing. Saying the curse doesn't apply to me. You're not humble. I have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart, in order to sweep away the watered land with the dry. Yahweh shall not be willing to pardon him, but rather the anger of Yahweh and his jealousy will burn against that man, and every curse which is written in the book will rest on him, and Yahweh will blot out his name from under heaven. If Paul was teaching that, it is a very, very serious accusation. And this is what boggles my mind, seeing you Romanized Christians saying that you were not under or obligated to study or do Torah. You're not only cursing yourself, I mean, this is a serious accusation. Acts 18:18, and Paul, having remained many days longer, took leave of the brothers and put out to sea for Syria. With him were Priscilla and Aquila, and Cenchreae, for he had his hair cut, for he was keeping a vow. What vow was he keeping where he suddenly had to cut his hair because he was accused of defiling himself by teaching against Torah? Number 6, verse 2, speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, when a man or woman makes a special vow, the vow of the Nazarite, to dedicate himself as a Nazarite to Yahweh, he shall abstain as a Nazarite from wine and strong drink. He shall drink no vinegar, whether he made from wine or strong drink, nor shall he drink any grape juice, nor eat fresh or dried grapes. All the days of his Nazarite vow, he shall not eat anything that is produced by the grapevine. From the seeds even to the skin, all the days of his vow as a Nazarite, no razor shall pass over his head. He shall be holy until the days are fulfilled for which he dedicated himself as a Nazarite to Yahweh. He shall let the locks of his hair on his head grow long. Now this is important as well. The reason he shaved his head in Acts 18 and in Acts 21 is because he was accused of sinning. And this very well could be the reason that in the Corinthians asked Paul, why was he always bald? Why was your hair so short all the time? He was constantly shaving his head because he was constantly accused of sinning against the Most High. So how does Paul respond? He says that it's a shame for men to have long hair. Let's read Numbers 6:5 again. All the days of his Nazarite, of his vow, the Nazarite should have no razor pass over his head. It's a shame to have a razor touch your head if you're under the vow of a Nazarite. And what does Paul do in that passage? He appeals to nature, which is such a bizarre statement, and you believe it. I mean, yes, it's his nature shows us that the man has short hair, right? Well, look at this picture and think about Paul's passage. Nature shows you that it is a shame for man to have long hair. Really? It's a shame to have long hair, huh? Judges 16:14. So while he slept, Delilah took the 7 locks of his hair and wove them into a web. And she fastened it with a pin and said to him, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. But he awoke from his sleep and pulled out the pin of the loom and the web. Was it a shame for Samson to have long hair? No, the shame came when he cut it. When she cut his hair, she revealed to Delilah the source of his strength, and she cut it off. That was his shame. 1 Samuel 1:11. And she made a vow and said, O Yahweh of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a seed amongst men, then I will give him to Yahweh all the days of his life. No razor shall ever come upon his head. Was it a same shame for Prophet Samuel to have long hair? No. And this is the part of the problem with your pretext, though. You start with your faith, you read only the New Testament, and even then, you're likely only reading proof texts. And then at that, you spend most of your time reading only the Pauline epistles and proof texts from that. You come to radically incorrect interpretations that way. The New Testament cannot replace the Torah. Joshua 1, 6-9. Be strong and courageous, for you shall cause this people to inherit the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous to be careful to do according to all the Torah which Moshe, my servant, commanded you. Do not turn aside from it to the right or to the left, so that you may be prosperous wherever you go. This book of the Torah shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. See, doing according to all that is written in it. See, the same thing, action. It's action, not what you believe. But also, for you Talmudists, he's not saying the Torah that the rabbis wrote, the Mishnah and the Talmud. It's this book, this scroll of the Torah, which came from Moses' hand. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be in dread or be dismayed. For Yahweh, your Elohim, is wherever you go, with you wherever you go. Christians love this passage. I love this passage too. Be strong and courageous. I mean, it sounds great. But the context, the problem is, it is those who study the written scrolls of Torah and do them that will be strong and courageous. With his own hand, that will give in one gumption to be strong and to be courageous. It's not something given to those that study something else and don't do what is right. Psalm 1. And it's interesting, these passages are at the beginning of these books. Like it's like Yahweh saying, wake up. How blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the Torah of Yehovah. Remember this, as I said, the Torah of Moses is sometimes called the Torah of Yehovah, because what does the Torah show us, right? Like in nearly every chapter, Yehovah spoke again to Moses. Thus Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, now the people became like those who complained at the calamity in the ears of Yehovah. Yehovah heard, it was kindled, and the fire of Yehovah burned among them and consumed some of the fire at the outskirts of the camp. So over and over, we see Moses is transcribing the words of Yehovah, and this is the whole point. When you read the Torah, you are hearing the voice of Yehovah. Christian, this is what the whole point of meditating on the Torah day and night. When you meditate on Torah, you know what Yehovah will sound like. You know what he will say. If you are hearing other things from another spirit, then it's not the voice of Yehovah. If that spirit isn't leading you to follow, to do the Torah, then it's not the voice of Yehovah. But his delight is in the Torah of Yehovah, and on this Torah he meditates day and night. Same thing. I mean, this should be our meditation. The Torah, the Torah, the Torah. The word which Isaiah the son of Amos beheld concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem. There will be in the last days the mountain of the house of Yehovah will be established as the head of the mountains, and will be lifted up above the hills, and all the nations will stream to it. The nation is Goy, Gentile. And many peoples will come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of Yehovah. And see, it's not worshiping wherever you want in spirit and truth. to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may instruct us from his ways, that we may walk in his paths. For from Zion the Torah will go forth, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And this is the problem with your Talmudists as well. The Talmud tells you that the nations will not follow Torah. Isaiah tells you they will. For from Zion will the Torah go forth to the nations coming to Jerusalem. They're not going to do Torah? And that brings us back to the statement in Matthew 23. He told you to attend synagogue on the Sabbath, to listen to the reading and teaching of the Pharisees, and to do all they taught from the Torah. Yet here you are calling me a heretic. You don't listen to the words of Yeshua. You don't. You don't believe him if you don't obey him. May you be blessed today. May you be greatly gathered to do this, to meditate on the Torah day and night. Shalom and blessings.